Warning, it is a non-stop spoiler onslaught going forward. Abandon all pretenses, ye who enter here.
Have this really long conversation about comedies. Let's talk about horror films.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek today with another Snekflix. Did you guys know they made a movie about Until Dawn? Yeah, I barely knew that myself. Like, this movie was not advertised. Nobody talked about it because, it's Sony and no one cares. So,
Of course not.
No, duh.
And I mean, Sony doesn't care either, unless it's it's OMG, it's Spooder.
So
but it's not the actual Spooderman.
Yeah, Spooderman.
It's not Spooderman. It's everybody's favorite Miles Morales. Hold on, let me take him. I'm picking him up and I'm jamming him in your face. You will love him. It's like he's lamest.
A little fox with two tails, obviously.
That is Miles Prower.
Yes, they made a movie of Until Dawn, which is kind of interesting because I kind of feel like the game of Until Dawn should have been a movie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, come on, Snek. Next, you're going to be telling me that they're going to make, what is it? What is that? That really, 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 really ham-handed, zombie survival series that they keep trying to push. What is it called? The Finality of Us?
Yeah,
Our Finality, I believe it's called.
Yeah,
something about fun guys. Fun guys. It's a very fun apocalypse. I think.
Yes, of course. So let me set the stage. 10 years ago, 2015. I looked this up before we got started. There was Until Dawn, the game, and it was interesting. I liked it.
What are you talking about, Snek? 10 years ago was 2010.
No, Jitaku. No, Jitaku. 10 years ago was 2015. And if my YouTube analytics are anything to go by, the vast majority of my viewers were 3 years old. So you guys weren't old enough still aren't old enough to play Until Dawn. So let me give you a quick history lesson.
I'm like 13? Holy cow.
Yep.
I'm going to tell my mom.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, Poogum. I'm 13. She's like, oh, good. Not again.
Oh, good. I get to go through this again. So the game Until Dawn has this setup. And the whole setup is, in the meta sense, there's this brief bit where you talk to a psychologist who kind of sets the stage for each chapter. He appears between chapters and gives you kind of like little insights into the themes of the next chapters, and he'll ask you a couple different questions like, of these two things, which do you find scarier? And he'll show you like two different pictures, and depending on the picture you pick, certain themes or ideas from those pictures might show up in the next chapter. Stuff like that. Little things to just kind of to mess with the player's expectations. But the core...
It's stuff like that makes me, and this is a thing that gets me in trouble with my oldest sister, who is a clinical psychologist. That I call psychology basically a bunch of problem, and that it's actually should be called psychology, because it really is just a bunch of like, it basically is like, well, you know how like we have like comics and stuff, bro?
Yeah.
Women have psychology.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your Ditaku misogyny for the day.
Okay, fair enough. So, the next thing that ends up happening is the game actually starts, and the whole setup is basically kind of a send-up to like 70s, 80s slasher films. There's this rich D-bag. Don't ask me his name. I haven't played this game before. I actually watched someone Let's Play it, which might be the best way to play Until Dawn, honestly.
It's like Metal Gear Solid 4.
I know, right? So, Cog was my personal Let's Player from that, fun fact. He did Metal Gear Solid 4 for me. So this rich D-bag calls together all his closest friends. As I recall, I think they're about to graduate from college or just graduated from college or something along those lines. And it's like
Okay, so are you
one,
ready for the name of the according to this, the masked killer is known as the Psycho. Very original. And
yes.
apparently he's actually ultimately Jersh Washington. I don't know what the significance of this is. I
Oh,
really don't care. But I
okay.
guess I'll find out.
So, so like the whole setup is they're in this mansion out in the mountains, isolated from everyone else, and this group of like 6 or 7 friends end up kind of breaking
Oh,
into smaller teams. Uh,
as you do. This is basically
oh
the
yeah,
same setup as Evil Dead,
yeah,
except they have an evil book there rather than just a slasher.
yep. So
Yeah, okay.
so the whole thing, it starts with like things are getting a little bit weird, things are a little bit off, and you learn that Rich D-Bag's sister had gone missing like a year or two prior. It's just kind of this build up, and you're kind of like, okay, is something supernatural happening, or is there like a logical explanation for it? And then like Slasher Man appears and starts chasing them around, and it's spooper scary guys. And it turns out, oh no, wait, it's Rich D-Bag, and he was just like screwing with you the whole time. Like there was nothing supernatural at all. It turns out, like I think his dad was like a special effects artist in Hollywood, so he just like literally has like movie props laying around that he was using to make it look
Uh,
like it was real. But then
y-
the game throws
the
you.
first thing.
Hmm?
Oh, sorry. I was just like the immediate thing that came to mind is just the raincoat killer from Deadly Premonition, with like just the heavy breathing.
Yeah,
So
the slasher chords. Yeah. So the game then decides to throw you a curveball by bringing it back around. Because in the later part of the game, you learn that the mountains actually are said to have had a curse on them by the ancient Amerindian tribes that lived there. And they're like, beware the Wendigo. If you succumb to the forbidden temptations, you will be possessed by these spirits. You will become one of them. You will become their flesh given form. And
mhm,
like humans who succumb to cannibalism for any reason, even to survive, especially to survive, will become
mhm,
the hosts of these cannibalistic spirits and become a
mm,
Wendigo monster. And that's pretty much the
yep,
climax of the game. And
yep.
if you play the game
That
well, everyone
that would
survives.
be in where does this happen?
I forget. You are really straining my very old memory.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up because I actually, being kind of a cryptozoologist myself, I would be like, oh, the Wendigo, that's actually an Algonquin tradition. That's in Northern America. So unless they're like up in like Boston near, H.P. Lovecraft territory, they're not probably going to be around where the Algonquins actually were.
It
Let me
says it
look.
takes place on the Blackwood Mountain, which I don't know if that's a real place or not.
Blackwood Mountains location. Let's find out. That's in Alberta, Canada.
All right,
Literally around a peak known as Mount Washington.
fair enough.
Well, according to this, the Algonquins, at least in the United States, are near Wisconsin.
All right.
So that's a fair distance away from Alberta. That's actually closer to where my ancestral family is. Yeah, for those of you who care, my family's from the Great Lakes, so yeah,
So,
we're loggers and trappers, and we hung out with Wendigos apparently.
yep. So the game is okay. I would say it's like it's the very definition of a 7 out of 10. It was okay.
It
Uh,
seems like something that would be like right up your alley,
oh, in many
considering
ways,
how
it
much
very
fun.
much. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I liked
Yeah,
it. I liked it, but it's one of those situations where people who don't like it, and I'm like, I get it. I understand why you don't like it. You don't have to explain it to me. I understand
yeah.
perfectly.
Like, what's that one game where you can either play as a slasher or as a teenager, and you have to like,
Dead by Dawn.
yeah, that one. It seems like something like that where, honestly, I think honestly, I'm kind of surprised you don't play that
I,
because that
as I
once again kind
recall,
of
I think I own it, and I've never played it.
it just seems like one of those games that like Yeah, you would be really good at. And
I'll have to look into that.
but
So, okay, so that's your setup. That's what the game
okay.
Until Dawn was. So,
Okay.
take all of that, throw it out the window, because this has nothing to do with that.
Oh, so this is a 90s video game adaptation. Okay.
Yes.
I love how we're like going backwards in terms of fidelity with video games from like Sonic and then, Chicken Jockey and which literally is like maybe I would argue it seems to be about 40% fidelity to what would percentage would you say this is?
Okay, that's difficult to answer, and let me tell you why. The game has the movie and the game have nothing in common except some thematic consistencies and the fact that for some inexplicable reason the monsters in this movie are at one point referred to as Wendigos. I don't know why. They're not Wendigos, and they're
They're
just
not actually
monsters.
they're not actually cannibalistic skinwalkers, are they?
No, they're not. So the whole thing
That's a bit
starts.
unfortunate.
The whole thing starts, and there's 5 friends. There's Clover, played by Ella Rubin, who's ostensibly the main character, but you wouldn't know that from most of the film because she doesn't do a whole lot till the third act. There's Max, played by Michael Cimino. Cimino? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. If you're watching this on the 1 in a 10 trillion chance that you're seeing this, I thought he was going to be the main character. He's just kind of there as support. There's Nina, played by Odessa Azion. Sorry, I gave that my best shot. There's Megan, played by Ji Young Yu. And there's Abe, played by Belmont Camelli, which is a very cool name, by the way. So, these 5 are on a road trip. And you learn that the reason they're on this road trip is because Clover, her older sister Melanie, went missing I think a year or 2 before the game starts, which is a thematic. It's similar to a thing that happened in the games, but it's not the same thing, nor the same character.
One,
So,
2, 3, 4. Holy cow, that is a lot of monsters. I'm just looking at the IMDb cast list, and there's like Melody Wendigo as Adrian, Wendigo as Adrian again, but it's another person, Wendigo. It's like, wow, that is a lot of monsters.
there's kind of an explanation for that. So the 5 of them are on this road trip, and they're trying to basically cheer Clover up. And they mentioned that they had gone to different places because Megan apparently has some kind of psychic powers, and the rest of them kind of give her crap because they're like, "Oh yeah, real psychic. You're so great because you've never detected a single thing before."
Once again, Stephen King is like basically done irreparable damage to horror literature.
No, he has. So they're driving through this rainstorm, and right as you think they'd run into the stock cliche about crashing into something inexplicably, they don't. They drive out of the storm, and there's just this sheer divide between biomes, like in a Minecraft map, where the rain is on one side of this divide and just kind of dark and cloudy skies, but not rain on the other. And there's just one building kind of out in the middle of nothing and a bunch of trees. So they're like, that's super weird. We're basically lost. We don't really know where we are. Let's go inside and see if we can find some help. Standard setup.
Right.
The building's been abandoned since the mid 90s. They find a calendar, and I forget the exact date. I want to say it's 94. And they're like, wow, no one's been here in years and years and years. So what do we do? And they're like, well, let's see if the restroom works, and then we'll just kind of start making a game plan. Well, a freaking clown mask slasher killer dude shows up and kills them all. I'm not joking. Within 20 minutes, everyone's dead. So then the camera zooms in on this hourglass that you had seen before that point. The hourglass rotates with this clockwork mechanism, and the sand starts pouring, and time resets right before the slasher showed up and killed them all. And all 5 of them are like, holy crap, we were dead seconds ago. What's going on? So they convene.
I was with my grandma. I was somewhere else.
That's kind of. Let me stop and kind of talk about the characters real quick. Clover is again your main character, so she doesn't really have much of a personality. I think you're just kind of expected to project on her. Max is like the nicer guy, and they talk about that like he dated Clover at one point, but they're not dating at present. And that doesn't go anywhere. Shrug.
Gee, Clover, this is the voice that they're gonna give me.
Max is a good boy. I'm not going to make fun of Max.
Oh man.
Nina is dating Abe, and Abe is kind of the jocular one. He's like, yeah, I'm the tough guy, and I'm super cool, and I'm super smart, and he's kind of the one who's a little bit more antagonistic towards the others. But like, it only comes up a couple times. Like on the whole, he actually kind of has some pretty good ideas. So it's like, I don't know, maybe he's just voiced the contrarian in this case. Nina of the girls is the most aggressive.
Oh, I was just gonna say I never have known anyone to be a contrarian.
No.
Never in my entire life, and no one ever has ever said that I am the contrarian of the Tomo Bros, and I do things just to spite other people.
No, that ain't you.
No, I'm very friendly.
Nina is the most aggressive of the female cast. She's kind of like, I mean, personality-wise, like they try to fight the slasher. Like the first time the slasher shows up, he just punks Abe and Nina. Like Nina even gets killed off screen. She's like a non-factor in that fight. Max like grabs a chair and smashes it across this dude's back. He doesn't even flinch. So like he immediately grabs another weapon and tries to stab the slasher with it. I mean, he dies. But he tried. Max actually tried. Everyone else just gets punked.
Well, at least Max is going to Valhalla then.
Yeah, no, he is. Or he would, you know, time doesn't reset. And so they're like, okay, we were just dead. Now we're not. But like we still have some battle scars from like the things that have happened to us. But like on the whole, we're okay. And Nina, just for funsies, had signed a guest book when they first came in. And now her name is in there twice. And she's like, I only signed it the one time. So why is my name on here twice? And they're just like, well, it's got to be this time loop thing. Like they pick up on it very quickly. And actually, Max makes a pretty funny aside where one of the girls is like, it's like that one movie. And he's like, that does not narrow it down. There are a lot of movies that have done this.
It's like, well, I was about to say, this literally sounds like the beginning to Rocky Horror. So I guess this would be a time warp.
Yeah, so Max kind of points out, it's like, yeah, this has been done before, but like this is the situation we're in. I'm like, you know what? Good on you. That was pretty good. That got a laugh out of me. So like the next thing that happens, the next thing that happens after the slasher man, what was the second thing? Oh, the Clover gets lured out of the building because they're like, okay, if there's a slasher coming, we're just gonna wait. We will hunker down, we will barricade the doors, and we'll just make it so he can't get to us. We win. So Megan gets possessed, and they find this room full of missing posters of all the people who have gone missing there, and now that they've died, they have missing posters added to the wall. And they're like, these don't help anyone. There's no information. There's no last scene. There's no height. There's no weight. There's no age. These are here just to taunt us. And so Megan gets possessed because it turns out she actually does have psychic powers, and she starts channeling the voices and the memories of the people who had been there before. And she just says, "She is coming. Don't let it in." So they're like, "What does that mean?"
Oh, well, that definitely helps. Thanks, spirits.
That's super great. Yeah, they just like kill Megan immediately in the second loop, and they go to the front door and they hear knocking, and they check and they're like, "There's no one out there. There's nothing there. So let's just keep the door shut. If there's nothing there, there's no reason to open the door, right?" And they hear the voice of Melanie, Clover's sister, and she's like, "Oh, you gotta help me. They got me." So Clover does the dumb horror protagonist thing and runs outside.
I see. Oh, no, I already...
Clover runs outside, and she is assaulted by the Glore Witch. By the way, this happens in Glore Valley, but that's only talked about like 3 times. So the Glore Witch shows up and kills her in a very strange, nondescript way. It's really hard to even describe because like you see like this old crone on like an oxygen machine, and she puts the ventilator mask on Clover, and that kills her somehow? Question mark. So,
I fooled you.
oh, and I think the witch kills Max as well. There's like this bit where like this evil clown doll shows up in a chair, and Max just like drop kicks it, and I'm like, okay, again, Max is the best character. So,
That reminds me of a bit in one of the. You remember how I mentioned how my first tabletop role playing game was Werewolf
the
Werewolf the
apocalypse.
Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Yes. Apparently this happened like right after the TV series It happened.
Oh, okay.
And so our storyteller decided to put a clown doll under a bed. At which point, two, basically military trained guys both went, ham, and immediately started destroying this entire room, because they were both werewolves,
Right.
and so I don't know. It's just that
That's funny.
it just drop kicked a clown doll.
Yeah, Max just drop
Yeah.
kicks it, and he's just like, stupid doll. And then the witch like punks him. I'm like, my boy, you can't get anything, can you? So the third loop is where oh my god, the third loop. They lock themselves in the bathroom. They're like, okay, screw this. We're trusting nothing. We are trusting no one. We are not doing anything, and we are not getting separated. So they just barricade every door they can with every piece of furniture lying around.
So is Melanie like permanently dead now, or did she come back?
Here's the thing. The witch tells them, before she kills Clover, she says, you either survive the night or you will become a part of it. With the implication that the more loops you go through, the more deleterious the effects become. And you will eventually become one of the monsters, you'll lose your humanity, and you'll become one of these creatures who hunt people who get trapped in this place. So Melanie is definitely a monster / Wendigo / witch, whatever. It doesn't matter, they call them Wendigos. They're not Wendigos, but they're called Wendigos because... That bugged me, but like I get it. They're trying to make small ties to the original game, though I don't understand why at this point. So
this bothers me. This fundamentally bothers me.
Agreed.
I understand, the desire to make new things, but I mean, like, at least give them new names.
Like, I think like they could have called them ghouls. They could have called them. They could have called them the Fallen, the Lost, any number of things, and it would have been just as valid. Yeah, like it would have been just as valid. So the third loop, I have to describe this one. They're locked in the bathroom. They're barricaded. They're like, okay, we are as safe as we reasonably can be, and
that's not going to help. It never helps.
No, it never does. So Abe goes over to the sink and he's like, man, I just need a drink of water. And Megan's like, don't bother. The water doesn't work here. But he turns it on and there's water. And they're like, well, crap. Okay, we have water now. So they all just kind of pass this cup around and they start talking like, okay, what's our game plan? What's our strategy right now? And they're like, well, we have to avoid the witch. We have to avoid the slasher man. And then we have to assume that there's probably more bad stuff out there that is out to get us. And as they're going over their battle strategy, Abe starts coughing really, really hard. And he's like spitting up this like weird brown-black tar. And he explodes. I'm not joking. He explodes all over the set. It is the silliest looking thing I've ever seen, because apparently the people who did the explosion effect forgot that the human body has bone or like anything solid, so he just pops like a meat balloon in a really violent cartoon. He just pops, and it was so silly looking. I burst out laughing. I couldn't help it. Thankfully, like, no one else was in the theater, basically, and I was just like, oh my god, he just popped. Like, they stabbed him with a pen, and he was in a cartoon. He just popped. And then they all do it. They all just start exploding. One after another.
Man, this sounds great. I feel like you and I, if we had actually watched this together, we could have probably have MST3K'd this night.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So here's where it gets weird. Clover, Max, Nina, and Abe just pop like balloons. They just burst. And there's no skeleton. There's just like a meat balloon just exploding like I've described. They do something different for Megan, and I think this is one of those like the writer's barely disguised fetish moment of the film. Because unlike the other four, Megan like falls on the ground and her stomach bloats up and distends before it like bursts in a completely different fashion than all four other characters. And I'm like, why was that necessary? Why did you decide to do that to the Asian girl? Like, why, writers? Why? Why did she just not pop like everyone else?
And meanwhile, there's the very, very effete, French video game developer just being like, why?
Yeah, no, I know why, and it's still gross. Like I gotta say, like
you would have done it different.
No, I definitely would have. I would not have come up with water that makes you explode like a water balloon. I got nothing on that. So I also say the gore effects in this are really bad, but they're bad in a comedically bad way. There's this bit that's supposed to be horrifying because, like, around the fourth or fifth loop, this guy contacts them, and he's Dr. Hill. And he was a psychologist who loosely parallels the psychologist of the game, but he's also like in the story, which the psychologist in the first game was not. Whatever. So he explains like, oh yeah, I've been running experiments on the people who are trapped here. They get stuck in the loop, and I document the results. And the thing, oh man. So he kind of starts expositing a little bit and tells them, your psyche influences this place. So we're kind of ripping off Silent Hill a little bit here. The things that you encounter are reflections of your mentality, your trauma, and your issues. And it turns out Clover has a whole bunch of issues. We're not shown any of them. We're told a lot of this. And honestly, at this point, our heroes kind of just start rapid fire dying. Just one after another, just dead. Oh, something happened. Dead. Melanie Wendigo shows up. They're dead again. There's one where Slasher Man like slams Megan through a pane of glass and dead. It just keeps. I need that soundbite of Heavy just going dead, just superimposing it over this film. But there's this bit while Dr. Hill's like, yes, I was testing my subjects. I called them Wendigos. It represents hunger. And the more they go through the loop, the more like the Wendigo they become. And this dude is supposed to be like, it's supposed to be this horrible scene of him like ripping out another human's intestines. But like, for some reason, they look like plasticine and cherry red, which is not how human gore and viscera would actually look, so it looked like they made the prop out of like fruit by the foot or something.
Okay, I just checked it.
Okay.
The way you describe the gore, basically, like that reminds me of something. So I just looked it up right now.
Okay.
Did you know there's a live-action Fist of the North Star film?
I did not, actually.
It came out in like 1997. But here's the thing. In Fist of the North Star, people actually like will explode like water balloons. So, it kind of stands to reason. But I mean, it also is a low budget film from the mid 90s.
Yeah.
So, it's not the best.
No.
But even still, I thought it was entertaining. Actually, it's the reason why I got into the comic to begin with.
Fair.
But that aside, I was looking at that. I'm like, no, it's exactly as goofy as I remember it. And it's pretty much like this low budget, slasher like action film from, the mid 90s is pretty much exactly like, do we have a budget for this at all?
Let's see if IMDb says anything on that. I don't know.
Because that would tickle me to death if like this is basically on par with a sci-fi, movie from the mid 90s.
I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. We got a production link here. No, it's not. It's not really telling me. I imagine it's not much.
Okay, so just so you're aware, the ballpark for the live action Fist of the North Star is 7 million.
Okay.
So
All right.
just so we're both on the same page here.
Right.
And it shows. It is not this is not a highbrow. Well, I mean, the comic isn't really highbrow, even if it's one of the best comics ever.
Fair. So
But
we have
yeah,
this kind of
this is just
montage of them just dying over and over and over. And then
okay.
eventually they're kind of like, what's even going on? Like why does it keep changing? Because like we keep getting killed by different things. And they're like, wait a minute.
Question.
Yeah?
I said no, that's a good question.
Yeah.
They're actually being semi-intelligent
Oh
here.
no, they are. I was actually refreshingly surprised. They're not as dumb as your typical slasher heroes usually are.
Well,
And
I mean, that's kind of the problem with a lot of modern is that I get the sense that, and we've talked about this earlier before, not, today, but in the past,
yeah.
it seems like with a lot of, film writers now, they seem to be about in our age range. The problem being is that they're not particularly bright people. I hate to say. And so the characters they write are kind of dumb.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
this is
definitely a thing.
Yeah, so this is kind of good that they're actually kind of thinking strategically.
They are. And like they're like things keep changing. Like we got attacked by the slasher man, we got attacked by the witch, we got killed by water, of all things. We got attacked by other Wendigos. We got attacked like different ways in different fashions. It's not following a set pattern. And they're like, maybe that's the point. Maybe it's to keep us afraid and like constantly second guessing ourselves. And they find this videotape, and there's this dialogue by Dr. Hill, and he's explaining. He's like, yes, my brilliant experiments will show me how this cycle of death and time rewinding will work. And why he's not affected by the time rewinding is never really expounded upon. He just isn't. And he contacts them directly and is like, yes, I'm in the loop with you. I am here with you, observing these events, but I'm above it all. And I will tell you, four of you can get out. One of you has to die for that to work. And they're like, we have no reason to listen to you because you are definitely, like, you do not have our best interest in mind. So they actually don't believe him. I'm like, oh my God, they're kind of smart.
Well, I mean, who's to even say that he's even saying the truth to begin with? So I mean,
yeah, so they don't believe him, and they actually start like researching. They're looking for like documents and newspaper clippings and things they find in this building. And they're like, okay, there used to be a town here. There was a huge sinkhole, and like the entire town fell into it, killing tens of thousands of people. And this unleashed this weird curse that has locked this place into this weird, ever regenerating hellscape that it's become. And
oh good. The Canadian sinkhole has produced Silent Hill. Oh wow, it's gone from. Okay, we're gonna put that aside. I don't want to go into my thoughts on how overrated and just another tumor that Silent Hill has been on Earth. So.
yeah, no, that's a podcast episode for sure, though. So they're like, okay, so that means because like early in the film, like within the first or second loop, Max finds a basement into the building, and when he goes down, he's like, why are there windows in a basement? What purpose does that serve? And they're like, it's not a basement. This used to be the first floor of the building. This building was on the outer perimeter of the sinkhole, so it only sank down about a story. So the entrance we came in was built after the fact.
That actually is a thing in Seattle, yes.
Yep. So
just because of the way that the downtown used to be basically built right into the loam of the Puget Sound, and so it would slowly sink.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So they test what would have been the front door of the building, and it opens up into a mine shaft. And they're just like, this is it.
Oh, that's awfully convenient.
Yeah, no, it kind of is. It's like, this is it. This has to be where Dr. Hill's hiding, and we have to find him if we want any chance of getting out of here alive. So they end up dying before
Meanwhile,
putting
they're
this
just
in.
wandering around and they just find his Snek being like, hello, hello,
Hello there.
the Morlocks are around here somewhere.
I'll find my Morlock waifu eventually. So they die one more time, and they start noticing that like the effects of this time loop are getting progressively worse. Like Abe lifts up his shirt and he's like, guys, do I have something on my back? And he has like these like bone spikes sticking out of his back. And they're like, no, dude, you're fine. You're imagining things. And he's like, I don't know. It kind of feels like something's back there, but if you guys say so.
Oh, guys, it's cool. You're cool. We're all cool.
Another thing I will say is this movie does have some jump scares. I would say probably 4 or 5 uses of jump scares. And if you're not a fan, that will become kind of annoying because it's a bit of a running gag, so to speak. And the one like right before they go into the mine shaft is probably I would say like the one actually effective one. Because every now and then there's a flashback that Clover is having to why her sister left. And it has something to do, I think their mother died a year or 2 prior, something like that. They don't really go into it very much because that's not.
Sorry,
really
girls, I'm going into a tunnel. Bye, Mom. No.
So you see, Melanie and Clover are talking, and Melanie's like, I have to start a new life. I'm going to start, at this school. I'm going to get a good job. Things are going to get better, and you can come with me if you want. And Clover's like, I don't want to. I want to stay here. And Melanie's like, okay, do what you want. That's on you. She goes out the door, and Clover's like, hey, wait a second. And like, as she goes to open the door, like Wendigo Melanie jumps through and jump scares the viewer. And I was like, that's like the one jump scare in the film that was actually like effective. It actually caught me off guard. I'm like, that one was really well timed. All the rest in the film are kind of cheap. And like, they really just kind of go for that really low grade shock factor. I'll say that one was good. That one actually, I think, had earned its payoff. So they go into the tunnel and realize Megan is missing. And they're like, crap, well, we're not leaving unless all 5 of us can leave. That's just how we're going to do it. Like, oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's a bit, like in the 3rd or 4th loop, where Abe is like, let's just leave. Like, he says to Nina, let's just you and me leave. Everyone else can figure it out. We'll go get help. And we'll send people in to save them after the fact. And Nina legit takes a pickaxe to him and just kills him on the spot. It's so jarring and out of left field. Like, again, like I don't know if this movie was trying to be a dark comedy, but that's how it ended up being.
I don't think so.
So it was so funny. Like by the last loop, they're like, okay, all 5 of us have to get out alive. We have to deal with this Dr. Hill fellow. We can't ignore this. Let's go take care of this problem once and for all. So they go in. Megan is like in this slasher room, torture chamber thing where there's a chained up Wendigo on the far wall, like just out of reach of her. And Clover has to like, oh no, I'll save you. And then she like has this really long dialogue scene with Dr. Hill in his office. And he's just like, oh, all the things that happen, slashers, you saw the slasher man because everyone's afraid of slashers. I mean, what's not scary about some big brute who's way stronger than you? And then he's like, oh, the witch. Like, oh, yes, that's, all your repressed desires to rebel. And so he kind of like, oh, the water making you explode is a reflection of your self-destructive tendencies. And I'm like, really? We're going to like this is kind of where he gets like really into detail about it. And I'm just like,
once again, I point out this is basically comics.
Yes.
This is for comics for people who don't do comics. I'm just saying that's psychology is not a science, really.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, psychologist.
And I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement. But that being said, They kind of just like explain it, and the whole thing is like every time you see Dr. Hill, he's drinking coffee like he's trying to be Ditaku or something, and
Oh,
he
whoa.
so
Wow.
he like
Fighting words right there.
like this is how they actually kill him. This is legit. Like he sets his coffee mug on his desk, and he's monologuing. She catches him monologuing, legit. And
Did they put the exploding water in his coffee?
There's a pipe above his desk that is dripping. So Clover slides the mug over, lets some water drip into it, and then slides it back to where it was. And like as Dr. Hill is about to start threatening her, he drinks the explosion water and he just pops and dies. And that's how they get rid of him. Oh my god, it's way funnier than it should be. So, with him defeated,
Seems like something that a spoof would do.
it does. So, Clover rescues Megan, and Max, Nina, and Abe fight the Slasher Man. But this time, they totally rock him. Like the first time they try to fight him, which is like the first time they meet him, really, everything just bounces off this dude and nothing phases him. This time, Max like cold cocks him and it knocks him flat on the ground. And then they just take a sledgehammer and smash his head in. And they just beat him somehow. It's so inconsistent. So the five of them like regroup and they find this tunnel leading to the surface and they climb out just as the last grains of sand run out of the hourglass. And the sun comes up and all the monsters disappear because they're stuck in the time loop. So they return from where they came and the rain stops and they're just like, oh man, that was really weird, right? And they pile into their Jeep and they drive off and that's the film. There is one scene, I think right before the credits. I think they actually had the discipline to do it before the credits, where they show a mansion in the snow that looks kind of like the start of the game. And then you hear, oh yeah, I forgot. Dr. Hill's thing is he whistles a lot. Like he just kind of whistles a little ditty everywhere he goes. That's like his thing. And so you like hear him whistling at the end when the camera shows this. And what can I even say? Until Dawn, as a game, was already basically a movie. All you had to have done was just adapt that into a movie. They instead chose the path of most resistance, came up with something completely different, and you know what? On the one hand, they tried to be somewhat original with the idea. Props for that. Is this a good or a bad film? I don't know. I'm not sure.
This is a good or bad film. I think, good or bad, this is not the axis in which we should be considering this. I believe, purple versus, cat butt.
This, here's the thing. If you held me at gunpoint and said, Snek, you have to watch either a Minecraft movie or Until Dawn, I would say Until Dawn 10 times out of 10. Okay? Now, that being said...
You're tearing apart, chicken jockey!
Like, is it a good film? Maybe not. Was I entertained? Yeah, I was, actually. Maybe not for the reason that was intended.
It really sounds like a film that I need to actually watch now.
Like, it was so weird because, like, there's a couple moments where you kind of start getting some genuine tension. But one, there's kind of a lot of comic relief throughout the film. Like, in the bit where Max finds the VHS tape that has, like, Dr. Hill's exposition before he actually puts it on, there's another tape, and it starts playing, like, adult sounds. And they're like, oh, like, great find, Max. And he's like, no, I didn't do that on purpose. I'm sorry. And
oh, guys, come on!
And it, like, makes him...
We've done this before!
It makes him really...
We've all turned on the inappropriate sound tape!
Yeah.
I mean, come on!
And so it's like... there's a lot of comedic relief, and then like scenes that are supposed to be horrifying come off as hilarious. And I'm just like, oh look, he ripped some fruit by the foot out of that guy. And then like people just start exploding as meat balloons. I can't help but find it funny. But that's the thing, like
This is the problem is that I despair that AMV hell is no longer a thing because people could definitely do the entire oh my wa naughty.
dude, they absolutely could.
They could, and yet it's not going to happen because AMV hell isn't happening anymore.
But it's like that's how it comes off. It's like there's it seems to me, and this is my impressions, it seems like the actors are having fun with what they're doing. It seems like I get the impression that either they weren't given enough time or they weren't given enough money or maybe they weren't given enough of either. And they just had to go with whatever Sony was allowed to give them.
Oh, yes, Sony, more money than God, but it's not Spooderman, so...
Nope, it's not Spooderman, so we don't care. And honestly, I think it might have been a worse film if it had a bigger budget. I think this low-grade, campy, over-the-top meat explosion faux black comedy was the best possible thing they could have turned out of this.
There is something to be said for low-budget, genre films because, yeah, they do have a quality all their own. And I mean, you and I both love old 1950s sci-fi horror.
Oh, yeah.
There's a special, je ne sais quoi to that era.
There absolutely is.
Be it, such high-minded things as Forbidden Planet or, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yep.
Which is a movie.
That is a movie that exists.
That is definitely a movie.
So like, IMDb currently has this film at 6 out of 10. And that's about what this film rightfully deserves. But I will say, get some friends together. Get like the biggest bowl of popcorn you can put together. Get some drinks. Get the guys together. MST3K, this film, I think this will become a great party film that people will love both ironically and unironically because of what the end result ended up being.
Okay. That being said,
all right.
I us talking about Sony and Spooderman made me realize something.
What's that?
You are a big Spooderman fan.
More or less, yes.
I am curious to know what a Snek Spooderman film would be.
That is very interesting.
Now, I'm not saying you need to go into it now. I'm just like, in the future, maybe, for another video or a Snek podcast or whatever.
Let's
just a thought.
Let's put that on the dartboard for season 4. And that'll be something that we can do. I think.
Because I could tell you right now what I would want to do, but that would be ruining the surprise.
Oh yeah, no, that'll be something fun that people can look forward to. So my recommendation: go see it. I saw it at a matinee, and I felt that was fair. It was silly. And
yes, the difference between $20 and $50.
Yeah.
Seriously, ticket prices are absolutely ridiculous now. You basically have to sell your arm in order to actually get in, let alone actually get snacks.
Yeah, no, it's a racket for sure. But you know what? I'll say this film is worth it. This was a lot of fun. And as we've said in the past, it was not a good film, but I dare say it's a great film, and you should watch it.
And the funny thing is that we were actually talking about, what's our favorite Mel Brooks film, literally right before we started recording.
Yep.
So we went from, like really, really genuinely good films that we will quote just repeatedly to this.
Meat balloons.
Talk about tonal whiplash.
Yep. Because nothing says a good time like, you and your friends being killed over and over again by increasingly silly things and popping like a meat balloon. And God help you if you also happen to be a cute Asian girl, because the writer will take it way too far.
You literally just described my college webcomic. And you can't deny this, and I can't deny this, and
Nope.
yet you're like, this is high art. I'm like, it really isn't, but
It
okay.
is.
And you guys will never find it, ever. But
Anyway.
maybe Snek will show it to you someday.
Maybe someday. Maybe in a controlled environment we can explore that in the future. So yes, thank you, Ditaku Man, for joining me for another Snekflix. These are probably the fastest Snekflix that have come out back to back in a while.
Oh, I enjoy movies. Movies are one of my favorite things, so that it's not a problem.
Yeah. So you
And
and the other bros have a very fun, silly experience ahead of you. I will say it drags in a few places, but overall, worth it for the meat balloon special effects. So, that being
I
said,
need to get you to watch Fist of the North Star. That actually is a really entertaining film too.
we'll
Speaking
make,
of low budget gore, yeah.
we'll make that a point. Anyway, this has been the Hipster Snek with another Snekflix. Thank you for listening. Leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe if you haven't. And go down into the comments, saying how we should make our own low-budget horror experience and all the terrible ways you want to see us die and how we've jumped the shark for making fun of things that you like. We will see you in the next time.